period. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?
Welcome everyone. Happy Pride. This is Pride Month. Everybody that's wondering why I took to the last day to finally get a Pride episode. Been sick a lot. Bronchitis, the new thing. But I had a lot of interviews lined up as well too, and I had to reschedule all those, and it's just a lot. But health is important. This is an important time to remind people, take care of yourself. Healthcare is a privilege here in this country. And if you have the privilege to deal with that, definitely take advantage of it and look for resources if you can't find healthcare. Here in Connecticut, we're very, very fortunate to have the Husky Part D, which I've talked about multiple times. And that's my issue. I haven't did a due diligence to myself to check on myself and take care of myself. And there's a lot with that. So I just want people to know, please take care of yourselves. Do the best you can. Do what you got to do to survive in this crazy ass country. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick because I had so much lined up and it was just a pitfall. So it happens, but we're going to get everybody back. Everybody's going to come back finally in July. July is going to be a very busy month. But we're here to talk about Pride. And I have a very special guest who is very, very active in a lot of things. You see their face all over the place, in New Haven especially. I think this is going to be a very great episode, great conversation. Shouts out to Kirill for getting me to reach out to this person. So without further ado, Nox. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I was just saying it's great to be here.
Yeah, pleased to have you on, and I'm sorry for all the rescheduling.
Totally fine. Listen, illness, sickness happens to everybody. You just have to be patient and, like you said, take care of yourself, because it is unfortunate that healthcare is treated like a privilege here, because we all have physical bodies, so we all need healthcare. But
Yeah.
you know, some people don't think so, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah. This Pride is Pride 2023. Let's talk about. Have you learned anything new since last Pride, or is there anything that you would like to talk about that been going on since this Pride?
Well, I will say the general temperament and vibe and energy around Pride this year feels a lot different from last year. Not to say last year was like, any safe or anything like that. But, with a lot of the legislation that's been coming out, post 2023, and a lot of the anti-trans and anti-queer rhetoric going around, it feels more like Pride shouldn't be this kind of like big party thing. I don't know. This is just generally my vibe. I think queer joy is incredible, right? I think it is a part of why our protests work, because our protests are rooted in joy.
Right.
So I think there's absolutely a place for that, and Pride should be a celebration. But at the same time, I kind of found it hard to sort of like be in that playful party mindset with that in mind. with like
Right.
all of the things going on in mind. Um, so in general, I kind of stayed local this month, which is something that's very different for me. I usually like going to all the big city prides and like, seeing what all the other states are doing. But this year I kind of
Nice.
stayed in Connecticut, which is very new to me. But I felt personally, I just felt it was more important to connect with the people that who I'm in close proximity to than, going out just to sort of forget that we are all kind of feeling the same fear
Right.
and just sort of not addressing it, trying to forget it through, these means. And, if that's what you need to do in order to cope with what's happening locally, go ahead. But that's definitely the biggest thing I took away from Pride this year versus last year was the need to sort of get to know my, close vicinities, my close LGBT or close queer communities, instead of just going to see what's out there, which, and I do feel a bit of FOMO about that. Like those pride videos, those pride photos, they look really fun. But I knew I wouldn't have it. Was not going to have as good of a time there if I went, considering the energy around pride right now.
Right. Right. What is? I'm sorry, I should have asked before when I spoke to you before we started recording. What is your pronouns?
They, them. No, you were right in the intro. It's they, them
Okay,
pronoun.
perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I've been to just talk about this real quick because there's so much more about Nox that I want to get into with their craft and everything that I think is really super cool. I like I me I, Something that I've always noticed. There's some few people, especially in the media, that identify that are bisexual, gay, and I see them in more spaces talking about trans issues than I see actual trans folk that are talking about actual trans issues,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the media, adjacent from whoever they bring on that are part of the queer community. There's always cisgender straight people giving their opinions 24/7. It's you never see an actual trans person. I'm talking about the big shows, or
Right.
like you don't really see it, and they double down, compete, saying the same narrative 24/7, 24/7, the same goddamn narrative, and then it sparks in my head what Hitler said, that if you repeat something 24/7, it could be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you repeat it 24, you repeat a lie 24/7, it comes true. That's the actual quote. And that's exactly what I see, especially when you look at a campaign for president like DeSantis, a freaking fascist fuck that just
Mm-hmm.
wants to just get rid of any type of talk of what queerness is, and LGBTQ is, and just attack the trans community. They get confused with drag shows. They don't know what drag is about. Like
Right.
it's just it's very sickening what I have seen this year. It's absolutely like
It
I'm so
is.
shocked.
It's extremely sickening. And, talk to any trans person that you see online, they'll frequently post about, how there is an active trans genocide going on in this country. And you can't really call it anything else,
Right.
because it is literally a political movement motive that is driving its main base through their desire to remove a certain population from public life. That is genocide.
Right.
um, and I think what the thing is, what a lot of people fear to grasp is that genocide doesn't always look the same way as it does like in history. It doesn't look the same way country to country. Just because one used gas chambers and the other one encourages people to commit suicide, that that's still like the people in power encouraging mass death and the
Right.
erasure of a specific population.
Right.
It just in a completely different flavor. Well, different flavors of the same monster.
Right. And not to mention, just to give people a comparison of American genocide, the reservation camps, the
Right,
Manifest Destiny, Jim Crow,
right.
um, HIV, what Reagan did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of examples of what genocide that was partake here in America that on this soil that you can see. We could go on and on abroad, but on this
Mhm.
soil alone, it has been practiced.
It has. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you brought that up. So it's really hard to all take in on top of all the other general injustices that are going on. Like just before I got on, I was scrolling through my phone and I saw a news article saying that the Supreme Court struck down Biden's executive order to forgive student loan debt, which is absolute. Like, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. Absolutely a
This
load of
is a
bullshit.
safe place.
Absolutely a load of bullshit. There's no way in a country where millions, I think it was millions or billions of dollars in PPP loans get forgiven, and millions of dollars of average people or student loans can't be forgiven because one's unconstitutional, the other isn't. There's no way. So I don't know what's going to happen moving forward with this because too many people are being pushed to the edge, and that's something that I'm kind of fearful of, but also kind of anticipating at the same time. Is the average person you talk to now is so on edge because we're being strained, like we're being stretched so thin that like there's no way to make life sustainable. Um, so what does that mean? So how does that change society when the average person is sick of society shit? It's no longer conspiracy. It's no longer, oh, this, like you can no longer blame merit or, your own personal faults. Like everybody sees how bad this is now. It's just, what are you going to do about it now that America's showing its ass, basically?
Right.
So I don't know. I can't really predict the future of what the average person's going to do, considering everything that's happening in America. With a very dangerous far right movement going on simultaneously with just you know gross lawful injustice and all of that going on. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
But
when
it's
you
been
say
heavy on
far
my
right,
mind. Yeah.
when you say far right, you're not like over exaggerating. There
I'm
is
not.
throughout the state people with Nazi flags. People should just Google it up, showing up with their face covered, of course, because they're punks.
Yeah.
They're showing up to
Well,
drag
they're
shows.
not punks. Punks are cool, but
Let's call them jerks.
okay, they are jerks.
I do like the punk attire. I do like punk music. Yeah, I F with that.
Hmm.
And I do feel like you're basic if you only listen to Green Day when you talk about punk music, but that's just the palette of mainstream America. But yeah, they're literally like trying to shut down drag shows, and they come out with literally Nazi flags. I'm like, is this what you support? You support these guys coming out like this? Like, you don't talk about that. That is literally never really spoken of 24/7.
Right.
How the correlation of white supremacy is to eradicate queer people as well too. It's not just about race. When you
Right.
talk about Auschwitz, who was in those camps, it wasn't just Jewish people. It was they sterilized black people, and they put gay people in those camps. And
Hmm.
so like, of course the Nazis are going to continue being Nazis in this country because this is
Yeah.
what they like. No one wants to bring that part up because it's all about attack trans community, attack trans youth, attack trans healthcare, attack,
Right.
attack, attack, attack.
If you've been, I've been paying attention to a lot of like news stuff just because it's one of my hyperfixations.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically said the quiet part out loud over there in Florida when they passed that law to basically, what was it? They were going to deport a whole bunch of undocumented immigrant workers, and then a bunch of people who were may or may not have even been undocumented, not the point, started moving out, and now they don't have any contractors, they don't have anybody, fixing their roads, they don't have anybody doing anything in the fields, and they're in an active worker shortage of their own making.
I did not know about that.
Yeah,
wow.
Florida completely shot themselves in the foot here. And the funny thing is, they I want to say about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, they did a press conference, invited a bunch of Latino families. And,
really?
And they were like, "Listen, we don't actually want you to leave. This was supposed to scare people so our people can vote for us." They literally said that. Like maybe not word for word, but that is what they said. They were like, "We didn't mean for this to actually have consequences. We want you to actually stay. This was supposed to be a political stunt." And they really showed their ass there. But because they said the quiet part out loud, it makes so much more sense why all these other bills are passing, because legislating against trans people isn't going to make society better. It's not going to make society safer. You're just further marginalizing an already marginalized community. What it does do is give people a scapegoat to distract them from all the other bullshit that the people that they're voting for is doing behind closed doors. And at this point, they're not even hiding it. They're not even hiding it. But people will still vote for them, because if you can play with enough people's fears, you can have a loyal voting base, because they're not necessarily voting for anything. They're voting against stuff, which is just as impactful, and it's pretty twisted and fucked up. Especially considering considering that most Americans, queer, straight, whatever race, whatever ethnicity, in most economic backgrounds, can all agree that shit's really fucked up. And we know we can all agree on the things that are fucked up. The problem is the trans panic is a divide and conquer. Oh shoot. Did you go away? I'll just finish my thought. Okay, you're back. Back.
Sorry. I was just giving you the platform to finish.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
No problem. I usually switch cameras in and out.
Got it. The trans panic is a divide and conquer kind of method. It's if you can get enough people to fear a certain population that have more in common with you than are different than you, because trans people are just people,
right,
then they'll vote against their own interests to hurt the other person, which is really bad.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's a very big part of why I give the Democrats so much shit just as much as I give Republicans, because it's the same playbook that has been used since the fabrication, the start of this country.
Right.
And you can see the patterns from the 1800s on, when the abolitionists themselves, and people might get mad about me saying this, but this is exactly what happened. So don't get mad. I read my history. The white abolitionists themselves were compromising on certain things when it comes to fighting slavery, because they were feared. They feared the public opinion of white people in America. So that you go up to just real quick, the Jim Crow era, when they started attacking women's rights very, very harshly, was because the right was losing all the votes against keeping up Jim Crow and oppression with racism and apartheid. So they had to rebrand. They had to think, okay, what should we do now so we could try and keep the vision and sway the public? Let's attack abortion rights. Let's attack women's rights. Let's put that at the back burner. Let's say it's not Christian-like. Again, the Christian-like scenario to LGBTQ lifestyle as well too. So they found these ways, and now they're just redoing it again, and they're shooting themselves in the foot with this, like you said, with the immigration, because now that all Latino people are leaving Florida that are undocumented stuff, they don't have nobody to work and it's just absolutely hilarious.
It is. And you know what? They deserve it. They deserve it. And honestly, those Latino workers deserve to work somewhere better.
Right.
Like,
You
just
deserve to
saying,
work somewhere better. Trump
honestly.
has so many illegals that work for him, and he's so anti-immigrant. How about all those people leave, and you ain't gonna have nobody to work for you? Because like it's literally that simple.
I
Lie about who's here, who's not, but when the economy goes down, okay.
The thing is, it's okay to do quote unquote illegal things when you're
Right.
rich and wealthy, but when you lack privilege, it's an excuse to exploit you. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and also, I heard that there were because you seem to know more about Florida. Are you from Florida?
No, like I said, I just have a very
Oh,
general hyperfixation when it comes to politics.
good, good.
It affects everybody's lives. So I'm always like, oh my God, did you see that they passed this in the state? And they were like, no, why do you know this? I'm like, I don't know. Reddit recommended this to me.
Hey, look, Nox. I totally get you on that. I'm the same way. I'm 24/7 looking into politics, especially on my own interests with working class and in Black America. So like, I totally get you. You're not weird. You're not weird.
I listen. I'm a very multifaceted, multi-talented person. If my interest goes from politics to cartoons to art to ancient occultism and more.
Nice. Occultism is very interesting. How long have you? So, do you consider yourself a pagan? I noticed that paganism is very, very popular in the queer community. That's how I started a few years ago, getting into paganism. So how did you get into paganism?
So that's actually a whole story on its own. So to answer your first question, whether or not I identify as a pagan, that's actually very complicated, and that's what I'm going to get into.
Okay.
So when I was first starting out, I believe I got curious around 13 years old. Around the same time I found out I was queer was around the same time that I was exploring different spiritualities because I don't know, spirituality was always kind of important in my life. My parents raised me Christian. My grandmother moved in our house when I was pretty young, so I would go to church with her, and then we'd get ready together, and then that's what we'd like talk and hang out about. But then, I started to accept that I was queer around the time I was 13. And I was still looking for answers, like, will my spiritual community still accept me? And I was getting a lot of messages saying, no, they absolutely no, look somewhere else. So I did. I first found out about Wicca. And for those listening, I was 13 in the early 2010s. So Google was still a thing, but the only esoteric information you ever got was Wiccan based, and kind of New Age based. So I found out about Wicca. I was like, okay, let me try my hand in that. And like that set in motion a lot of like other things I started to build on. I think I left Wicca when I kind of grew up, became an adult, because it just no longer, like the title didn't really fit me in general. I was just kind of using it as kind of like a catch-all. But that's when, around college is when I started identifying as a pagan, because I started kind of taking bits and bits from like, different practices. Not like I made sure not to do any closed practices because I was pretty active on Tumblr. My Tumblr blog actually got pretty big at some point. But I was active on like the esoteric pagan part of Tumblr. And I got a lot of warnings from like, indigenous practitioners, from Asian practitioners, practitioners from all over about how Western paganism regularly appropriates cultures that are closed. And if you do these certain practices without these cultural contexts, you will it soils the meaning, and you may actually be doing more harm than you are good, if not to yourself, to the population that practices this, right?
I
So
totally agree with you on that.
yeah.
I got into an argument. I have to call myself out real quick because
Mhm.
when I was into Wicca, I got into an argument with my friend Dime. I don't know if you know Dime
I
Indigo.
do.
They
Dime,
are a rapper.
Dime
Yeah,
is
you know how
precious.
Dime set people
Mhm.
straight. Shouts out to Dime. Dime
Mm.
set me down. Was like, listen, you are doing a hell of a lot of cultural appropriation. You don't know what you're doing. This is
Mm.
wrong. You don't know what people go through in their religious growth to even do what you're doing, and you're not doing it right. Like they gave me a
Yes.
speech, and I had to look at my life. This was about 6 years ago. I had to look at
Mhm.
my life, and I was like, oh my God, I'm becoming one of the colonizers, and that freaked me out. Freaked me out. So I was like, all right, let me look into like my lane. Let me look into
Mhm.
African spirituality. Let me look
Yes.
into African American spirituality.
Mhm.
What was the roots of that? Stuff like that. I had to like adjust my whole way of thinking.
Yes. Yes. I abs I totally get it. Okay, first of all, shout out to Diamond, their Sagittarius and Gemini ass energy for coming out like that. But I also totally agree. So you touched on an interesting point about, like, eventually going into African spirituality, because after I eventually Tumblr died, I lost my spiritual community, my online spiritual community, and all of that, for a time. And I was looking for something more close to home, if that makes sense, like something more cultural, because I noticed that that was a really big part of my spirituality that was missing. And around that time, I was going like, this was when lockdowns was happening, by the way. So I graduated college in 2019. 6 months later, lockdown happened. So terrible time to go into the job market. Terrible time to graduate.
Right.
Um,
Take
but
note, Biden.
right. But yeah, around this time, I started getting more curious about, what my cultural roots have, because everybody has a cultural practice that utilizes magic and esoteric studies, and, leaning into your intuition and into spirit. So I found this podcast called A Little Juju Podcast, and that fed my curiosity for a very long time. Her content is great, and for those listening, she does have a fundraiser going on to make sure to, like, for her to do episodes in the future. She is taking a hiatus, but if you want to hear more of her episodes, consider giving her some cash.
Mm-hmm.
So that podcast, had a lot of guest speakers who, were African traditional spiritualists. Some of them were from Santeria, some of them were Lukumis, a lot of them were from practice Ifa and Hoodoo.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I got a lot of, like, my basic knowledge and how to start from there, how to set up an ancestor altar, how to feed my ancestors, how to talk to them. But then eventually, when shit started getting serious, when I, like, especially around the time I started regularly feeding my ancestors, shit hit the fan for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get into that. Shit hit the fan for me. I ended up kind of having to start all over back in my hometown. And that's what I started doing, like a more traditional mentorship through an IFA. It was a mentorship for Ifa, the Western African Isheshe tradition.
Nice.
And that did a lot of good for me. And through that, I learned the reason why shit hit the fan there is because, it's good to, you are supposed to venerate your ancestors, but sometimes when you first start, they make a lot of very quick changes in your life, and some of them can be very harsh. But it all ends up being to your benefit. And I guess what they felt I needed was to start completely over. And that's actually when my business, Rap Artist Gems, started becoming more public. because before I was just, doing jewelry on the side. I had my little Instagram account where I took pictures because I wanted to build like a public portfolio or something like that.
Mhm.
But around 2021, actually, it was an event that Dime organized. They invited me to table, and I made over $300 that day.
Nice,
And that was the start of me taking rap artist Jen more seriously.
nice, nice. And like you
So
do like
yeah,
wire.
wire wrapping. Yeah. So I don't know if you show video here, but yeah. So I wire wrap pendants. So this is one that is either going to be on a waist bead or on a necklace, depends on what
Okay.
it feels like beading. And a lot of the time they do it for the aesthetic. I do it for the art because I like getting different colored wires and then just kind of like seeing how they show up on the stone. Sometimes I do wrap in bead with intent to heal or to evoke a certain feeling or a certain theme. Lately, I've been getting really into mermaids. So you may see a bit more mermaid jewelry from me in a bit, or like a lot of like sea, ocean themes. Just because I feel like, I don't know, the water spirits have been very active this year in general. Um, and with that, a lot of like my watery energy has been very active in my creativity. Hence also why I've been painting a lot lately. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so
Well,
that's a very interesting correlation there.
yeah. I mean, it's awesome that you're able to like put your spirituality into your art and stuff like that because
Yeah.
it gives it more meaningful. Do you have like are you like planning to do you basically sell online or do you have like a of or
So
like do you do vendors and stuff like that?
so I primarily a lot of my business comes through my vending. I do
Hmm.
have an online store through Kofi. So I started
I'll
out through
add that.
Etsy. Yeah. So I started out through Etsy. Then Etsy changed its terms and service, and then I got off of Etsy. Um, and Kofi seems to be more. It's a lot more user friendly in general. They do have like subscription charges. They have private blog posts. They have kind of like a platform where like you can sell and you can get commissions. So it's a very diverse. It's a very diverse platform if you're like kind of in like an all around creator. So I do have a shop
Is
there.
this
The thing
new?
is, yeah. What
It's
what
a
what were
new
you
one.
saying?
So this website's new. I haven't heard this one. I heard of Etsy, but I haven't
It's
heard of this one.
it's been around for a couple of years.
Okay.
Think since around 2010s. So
Okay.
it's not new, but I definitely do recommend it for like artists, especially as you're starting to build your platform.
Okay.
Um, because I don't have a Squarespace on my website or anything like that. So
Hmm.
Kofi has been very great for me.
Right.
Um, so I have that. The problem with my business is I what's the best way to put it? So a lot of the times when I'm vending, I'm selling a lot of my leftover inventory. It's hard for me to make stuff just to make stuff. So let's say there's a particular pendant that somebody really liked and they saw, but somebody else bought it before they had the chance to buy it. They were like, "Hey, can you make this over again?" My answer would be no. Unless somebody makes the same exact stone in the same exact way, and that same exact stone wants to be wrapped the same exact way, there's no way. Um, I can make something like it. I can make kind of a replica, but it's hard for me to make the same thing twice. And with that, it's hard to sort of make an online shop where,
Ah,
um,
okay.
yeah. So
Well,
I'm
maybe that's not supposed to be a thing. Maybe you're supposed to always have something unique and
right.
physical.
And like I'll like what I'll do is like post on Instagram like saying, "Hey, this is some new things I'll make." And like if they don't sell during my peak vending seasons, which is, generally the summer and fall are sorry, late spring, early summer, and then all of fall are my peak seasons. So let's say in the winter I'll have like a bunch of leftover inventory. That's what I'll post on the shop being like, "Hey, I'm selling these." But in general, it's hard to sort of upload things when I take such an artistic and sort of like energetic approach to all of this, instead of more of like I need to make inventory. What I am hoping to do in the future is turn some of my paintings into prints, and maybe that can be more of like my renewable inventory things, because you know you can always just print more prints.
So you do like canvas, like basically like a canvas on the ground, or is it like a canvas on an easel?
So it's canvas on my flat table.
Okay.
I did recently get an easel because the place I used to work at is getting rid of their main building, so they were getting rid of a lot of their stuff, and I got a pretty cheap easel out of it. So
Nice.
look out for that, because that means I can paint bigger.
So this is on your Instagram?
Yes.
The painting? Okay. Send me these links after.
I will.
So check it out.
Yeah, I will. I forgot what made me start talking about Kofi.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
My bad. Which you said you were talking about Kofi as alternative from Etsy. I was trying to help you jog your memory. Sorry about that.
I think I was talking about how I sell my art.
Yeah, there we go.
So I do. So a lot of my business comes from vending and events, which I don't really mind, because that means I get free admission to some of the coolest events.
Nice. It's always perks. Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, I could be like, it doesn't matter. I don't really mind that working there. I think I'm the kind of person who likes to work, but I like to work on my own terms. I think if I can go into a bit of a story. So in 2016, I got the opportunity to spend a summer over in the Bay Area, because I have two uncles that live in Berkeley. And my mom said, you know, we'll take care of everything. My uncle said, hey, we'll take care of you, whatever you need. Just, you know, you just need to go out there, explore the area, do what you got to do. And you want to know what I decided to spend a free summer doing? Working as a canvasser. Not even working as a canvasser, being a manager. Right. Eventually as a canvasser.
Are you talking about going door to door and everything?
Yeah. So I wasn't door to door. I was standing on the streets.
Okay. You didn't have to talk to them, but you sent people.
Right. No, I actually did have to talk to them. That's why I was a manager, is because they upped my pay. I ended up getting my first tattoo because my pay was ridiculous.
Nice.
They upped my pay. I still had to talk to people, but I was so good at it, they didn't mind. They just promoted me. So it was. And this was around the 2020 election. So, you know, the HRC and what was it? The Human Rights Camp, that is the HRC, wow, and who was it? ACLU were canvassing really hard because it's an election year. So a lot of queer people made a lot of good money that year. Right. Specifically being a canvasser. Right. But that's just to demonstrate, you know, if given the chance, if you say, hey, what are, like if I had nothing to do, if all my bills were taken care of, if I had nothing to do, I would work anyway. So I don't mind working events.
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing canvassing. That was one of my main jobs for a few. But I mean, I did canvassing for the Democrats, did canvassing for roofing, doing contracting work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Canvassing for elections, all types of shit. That canvassing, you can make some good money. I tell you, people, don't knock it till you try it. If you want to get in shape to be a canvasser, you'll walk all over the place. I mean, I remember doing this canvassing for, I think it's civics. There's this great group out in Hamden that basically are environmentalists, and they help get waste. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I made some good money with them. I got fired because I didn't do the job correctly after 2 weeks, but I made some good money in the 2 weeks.
I get that. Well, in my experience, it's harder to canvas in Connecticut than it is somewhere in California, because it's just a cultural difference in general. New Englanders are very cold. We're very to ourselves.
Yeah,
We
we
don't
are.
like it when people stop and interrupt our day and interrupt our flow. We see it as we kind of see it as a threat.
This is such facts right here.
Yeah, but over in California, they're like, "Oh, you're stopping to talk to me? Of course, I'll talk to you about this important issue." And then half the times we pick these streets because there's people with money on these streets. So half the time they're just bored rich people. So it is just so much easier to do it there than it is to do it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like I would have had a better career if I was over there. But no, it's so true with the coldness. Like I got in a lot of cold shoulders canvassing Connecticut, and especially got the cops called on me a few times. Well, I remember one time this lady literally said that I was going around knocking on people's doors so somebody could come through the back and steal stuff from their house.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, I
This is
literally
racially
have a
profiled
clip
you.
of
That's just straight up racial profiling.
Seriously. The cop was like, "You need to leave this area." I'm like, "Well, you know it's not true, because if it was true, you would have arrested me." But you know it's not true. You just being a cop now.
Yeah. Basically, he's got to do his job so the lady doesn't call him again.
But yeah, I got canvassing stories for forever. It's a lot. I could tell you about how I used to stalk people just so I could make a buck. You know.
Oh my god!
Wait, I find out that they're going to be home in the evening, so I stay out until the evening time, and then I wait to come right back to where they are. I used to do a lot of things to make a buck.
I mean, it's a hustle, you know. Like I think getting good at canvassing is what makes me good at vending, because my approach when it comes to canvassing is I don't want to be you don't want to come off as intrusive, but you do want to come off as inviting. So you don't want to do it in a way where you're disrupting somebody who's just going through their flow, because like I said, especially in New England, people see that as a threat.
Yes, they do. Yep.
But what you do want to do is open yourself up, whether that be through, I'm just going to say my secret sauce on a broadcast, I guess. One of the things I like to do when I'm vending outdoors is to light incense, both for the energetic properties, but also because people are attracted to smells.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. People are very attracted to smell. So you just I learned that if you're inviting but not intrusive, then you tend to do well than if you're intrusive. Do
you have any incense in mind?
Honestly, any. So I would avoid any of the cheap Walmart dollar store stuff. Not saying that those can't work, but the more herbal and fragrancy it is, the less I don't know. I guess that's just my preference.
You don't have to reveal it all.
That just may be my preference.
I mean, clearly it worked because you're a manager. You were a manager, so it's like, hey, it worked.
It worked. Listen, perfumes, incense smells, what is it? Wearing certain colors works.
Nah, I mean, it sounds like it's down to a T. You just got to look presentable, like you said, and welcoming. And if you look presentable and welcoming, you have a better reaction instead of a door slammed in your face 24/7.
Right.
Which I think what people fear a lot, but it's really not that bad, people. When you go out there, you don't get a door slammed in your face 24/7.
Right.
People actually talk, and then they look at you like, oh, let's see what he wants.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you see that "don't bother me" turned into a "okay, maybe I'm interested." That's your chance for the kill. Go for the kill. Get that shit signed. Get that money, boo boo.
Get that money.
So you've been in a lot. I see your face around town. I'm about to wrap it up real soon because of time. But I see your face around town. Last question. What is it? Do you do? You just all around, and you just.
I'm generally all around. What can I say? The queers love me. Just joking.
Hey,
so a lot of the times when I'm around town, half the times I'm vending, half the time I'm going to social events just to kind of like, I don't know, see what the queer community is doing. And I tend to go to like a lot of the bigger ones just because I can blend in easier, which is odd because when I'm bending, I want to stand out. But when I'm socializing, I want to blend in. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a Virgo ascending, y'all. I like to retreat. I have my own bubble.
Okay.
So
you're not a paid model or anything.
Yeah. So I'm not a paid model or anything, but before we started recording, I was telling you about how you may see my face on some Anchor Health photos, and that's and some that wasn't really it was a paid modeling gig. They did give me a pretty nice Amazon gift card for that shoot, but sometimes I just let people take photos of me because they are gonna give me food or an Amazon gift card, and I think it's fun. I will generally say yes to most queer photo shoots. So it's not like I'm like, like modeling is a gig for me. It's just sometimes it's people want to take pictures of me because I look interesting. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do it. if you're queer and you're doing a shoot, fine. Let's go. Yeah. Pay me in food, pay me in a gift card.
See, yeah, I feel like it's really, that's a good motivation to keep going out and stuff, because I feel like a lot of people are now homebodied because of COVID and stuff like that. So, it's we got to get back to going out more, but it's hard. And I think a lot of introverts were created after COVID and stuff like that. So it's good to hear that there's still stuff going on, because I'm one of those people. I'm not gonna lie, I have been homebodied a lot more than I actually been ever in my entire life, and I'm coming to terms with that, and I have to realize that got to break out more, get back into it.
Right.
So have you went to well, actually, the weird part about New Haven is that New Haven Pride is in September, so that hasn't even happened yet. But
yeah.
What have you done for Pride in Connecticut? Have you been to the Norwalk Pride or?
Oh, okay. So this is just going to be a line of like places I've vended at, because generally I just been vending all month. So I always it's a half joke. It's actually no. It's only 1/3 of a joke. It's 2/3 true. My busiest months are June and October.
Okay.
Because the gays love Pride Month and the gays love Halloween.
Okay.
In general, it's the fall, and it's late spring, early summer, and then fall, all of fall. So what I've been doing this Pride Month in Connecticut, I vended at Strange Ways. I vended at New Haven Pride. I'm sorry, New Haven Black Pride. Mm-hmm. There was another one. There was another place I vended at, but I completely forgot. It was just a queer pop-up in East Haven for Pride Month. I took the last weekend of Pride Month off specifically because I thought I was going to go to New York Pride. I booked an Airbnb and everything, but then, like I said, it's something that didn't feel right about, like going out to party with the climate. I'd rather just stay local, and I'm happy I did.
And that's today, right?
No, that was last weekend.
New York Pride is today, right? Or it was last weekend?
New York Pride was last weekend.
Oh my God! See, okay.
It's okay. Listen, it looked like it was fun, but I just, I had my own thing about
it. Well, Nox, I have to go. Unfortunately,
okay.
This was great.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about putting. I can say this out there. I've been trying to put together a second show of just like a panel of queer people around New Haven community, and just have like a monthly conversation. If you're interested in that, I would definitely send you some information about it and see if that works with you.
Yeah, I'd love to. I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah. I have to say happy Pride one more time, everybody. I should have had my wine, but I don't have no wine because I'm broke.
I didn't know you drank on the podcast. Okay, so I did not have to cover my cup with paper towel then. Got it.
Oh no, that's perfectly fine. Dude, I literally smoked weed with I can't even think of this person's name on the podcast, and we do whatever we want here. I don't care.
Got you. Okay, I feel that.
All right.
Cheers to you, then.
Just to not get banned off of social media. That's all.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Definitely send me all your links so I can share it out to everybody because
Of
so everyone can
course.
see it. And everybody pay attention on TikTok because a lot of clips from this awesome conversation is definitely going to be on there. And with that, have a really good day.
Black period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?